What can you learn in the next 21 minutes? Well, I am here with you to find out. Welcome to the 21 and 21 Talks, where invited speakers share their 21-minute talks about all kinds of topics. And we're talking about everything from beekeeping to house building. You name it, they're talking about it. And so this series consists of 21 talks, 21 minutes long, happening in 2021. You guessed it. Speakers can choose to use slides. They can choose to forego them completely. They can choose to wrap it out on their, I really haven't seen that happen yet, but it could happen still. I guess we'll find out. The whole thing is they can present however they wish to present, as long as it doesn't go over 21 minutes. The floor is theirs. So all talks can be watched live or as replays over on the Association Chat YouTube channel. If you think in the back of your mind, you think, oh, this is such a great concept. How do I support such creativity? Well, you can do that by going over to patreon.com/association chat. Now, for this special 21 and 21 talk, we are hearing from Moira Edwards. We are hearing from Moira Edwards, and she is going to tell us about mindfulness when managing technology change. Take it away, Moira.
Thank you, Kiki. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. And Kiki, thank you for this opportunity to put into words something that I've been thinking about for a long time, but have never actually pulled together. So it's great to be doing this. So I'm going to start by asking you to think about the worst thing that's going on at work for you right now. What is the thing that's giving you the most stress and the most heartache? And what does that actually feel like? What's the feeling in your body? Maybe you think of the situation and you have a tightness in your chest because you're all anxious, right? Or maybe you have this kind of heavy feeling in your stomach because of dread. Maybe you don't feel anything at all, and that's fine. But if you stay with it, it can be a really useful thing to identify the feeling in your body that goes with an experience you're having. It's called a felt sense. And we're going to talk about that a bit today, because people think that mindfulness is about the mind. It's about controlling your thoughts, and meditation is a search for a quiet mind. But in truth, mindfulness is often about being more open and more aware of the present moment, of observing what's going on without judgment and without preference. So really having kind of an interest or a curiosity in the present moment rather than having nothing going on in the mind. So like maybe things you take for granted. Like if you look around now and you see, like I can see the wall right behind this camera, there's a wall, and I don't really look at that wall very much. I mean, I don't pay attention to it, but today, if I look at it with like a mindful eye, I'm like, there's some texture to that. Like it's not really bumpy, but it's got some grain to it. And I'm like, I didn't see that before today. If you look around, you can see cats stretching in the background. We get all sorts on this show. So mindfulness really then is about paying attention to our other senses, maybe not letting the mind drive everything, but recognizing that the mind is just one tool. So what we'll talk about today is a bit about mindfulness and what it is, and maybe how to use the body to access it. And then that'll lead us into thinking about being in a state of flow, of being in the zone. And then we'll talk about how that's useful at work, how these parlay into skills that can help you at work. So the mind is not the only source of knowledge that we have, which is a slightly strange thing to say. But imagine this. Imagine you're going on vacation and you got to the airport and you're on the plane, you have your mask on, you're wiping down your tray, you're buckling in, and you know you've forgotten something, but you don't know what it is. So you walk through what it might be, in your mind. Okay, the cats. Did I arrange for somebody to feed the cats? Yes, I did. That's not it. Did I tell Marcy that I wouldn't be on this call on Saturday? No, I didn't tell her that, but that's not the thing I've forgotten. I've forgotten something else. And I'm thinking, and I go, oh, I know what it is. I meant to bring some old photographs home with me to show my family when I got home. That's the thing I've forgotten. And what's interesting is that when we identify that thing, your whole body knows it. Your body goes, oh, that's what I've forgotten. So, this is this very useful feeling. That's a felt sense, a sense of I've forgotten something. And when you remember it, that's a shift in the felt sense. And that comes from this great book called Focusing by Eugene Gendlin. I'm going to mention a few books today. This is a great one for accessing feelings that are in the body that can give you more knowledge about what's going on in your life. So how does this relate to work? Well, when we focus on more than just our thoughts, we get access to more information. Like the body has information. So one of the things we have to do, though, is we have to start to tune in to our body. And because for many of us, when we go, what does that feel like? We don't feel anything, right? Sorry, my kitty, I banged him. So let's take some time to sense our bodies. We're going to get comfortable in your chair and put your feet flat on the ground. And I'm going to ask you to put your awareness into your right foot. Imagine that you're exploring the inside of your right foot. You're sending your awareness maybe into the big toe and then into each of the other toes in turn. Then your awareness comes into the main part of your right foot. Maybe it flows along the sole, comes to the heel, and you start filling up your leg, coming up your ankle into your calf with awareness. It's like we're flooding our leg with interest, with curiosity. Like, what does it feel like in there? Is it blank? Is it tingly? Do you feel any pains? So go ahead and let your awareness kind of come up your leg, that interest, that curiosity up the inside of your leg, up to your right knee, come all the way up your thigh, and your awareness is now up in your hip joint, in your right hip joint. And then relax your hand on your lap and put your awareness into your right hand, into the thumb, and then each finger in turn. Let the awareness swirl around the palm, come up through the wrist, up your forearm, curl around your elbow, and come up the rest of your arm up to your shoulder. So now pause and see, does your right side feel any different to your left side? And so now to balance ourselves, we let our awareness go from our right shoulder flowing gently across our back to the left shoulder. Let it flow down the arm, down around your elbow, down towards the hand, through the wrist, flooding into the hand, covering the palm of the hand, into each of the thumbs, into each of the fingers and the thumb. Now your awareness, maybe you let it go into your left hip socket. You feel yourself sitting in the chair, the weight of that on the chair. You let your awareness go down your thigh, through your knee. What does it feel like inside your knee? Down your calf, flooding down into your left foot, filling up the sole, filling up into each of the toes in turn. Now, when you pause, is there a difference between your right and your left side? And has that changed since the last time we paused? So This practice of kind of going into our bodies, it's very related to something called flow, being in a state of flow, also called being in the zone. And I first came across that when I read Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence, quite a few years ago now. And so he describes it very well in there. And it's about when we're fully absorbed and we're enjoying it and we're doing our best work, right? We're just mastery. We have mastery of what we're doing. So it's when we integrate all the separate pieces. So being in the zone means that we've gone from being a novice to being pretty good at something to being really good at it. And we've integrated all of the pieces together. Like basketball players feel it when they're playing really well. Surgeons feel it. I have to confess that I sometimes feel that state of flow, like when I'm writing a report and it's coming out really well. And I'm just absorbed and all this information is just coming out so smoothly. Because think about when you learn to drive. Like at first, you had to think about every single thing. You had to think about, turning the wheel and where your hands were on the wheel. You had to remember to turn on the turn signal. You had to remember to just check the traffic conditions before you made a turn, right? You had to put all these pieces together separately and they required thought. And now you probably do all of that without really thinking about it at all. It's just, you do it without unconsciously almost. Sometimes we even distract our minds with music or books or whatever because we don't really need to use the mind to drive anymore. But trying to go into a state of flow can be really good fun when driving. And I encourage you to try it. It's great on the Beltway. So I would be driving around the Beltway, maybe coming to the American Legion Bridge, and it slopes down a little bit, and I'm driving, and I can see all of the cars ahead of me. They're all down the bridge, and they're going up the hill on the other side, and there's lanes of traffic on my side and lanes on the other side, and I send my awareness out over all of this. I can see not just a car in front of me, but I can see all of the cars in front of me. And out to the edges, I send my awareness out. I can see the trees at the side and the sky. And this is not dangerous because defensive driving encourages us to not just look at what's right in front of us, but what's way ahead of us. So you're taking it all in mindfully. And then I encourage you to just notice the beauty of driving, like the way your hands guide the wheel so effortlessly, and the way you slow down or speed up to go with this flow of traffic, the cars coming in and out around you. I mean, it's like a river and we're all just drops of water flowing along. Now, it's a Beltway, which means quite often there is a delay or a crash, God bless them. And but that's like the water going around a rock, right? So we're all just going to flow around the delay, the obstruction, and get stuck at the dam for a while, but hopefully get flowing again. And what's amazing about that is that there's no thought, but just movement and awareness. There's just the beauty of execution in the driving, because you don't need your thoughts to piece together anymore, and it's great fun. So we've talked about mindfulness not being kind of all up in our head with thoughts, but a broader awareness, and using the body as an access point to see that we're more than our thoughts. But how does this really help at work? How does this help in managing technology projects and technology change? It helps because mindfulness generates less reaction, right? What do I mean by less reaction? A few years ago, I was a staff person at an association, and it was a meeting in the conference room, and I was presenting the web pages for a microsite for a new member program that I was developing and putting together. And I was presenting this to the team, and one of the web team just came out and said, why is this arranged like that? And she talked about how cumbersome and how awkward this microsite was. And I felt her exasperation, her contempt. I felt it come across the conference table toward me. In fact, I felt it hit me. I could almost have the sense of pain, like right under my rib cage, where it just pierced me, because I had planned this site, I had done this work, and she had just criticized it in front of a whole team of people. It was a real zinger, and it hit its mark. So luckily, though, I was able to take that, and I remember the feeling of it going in, that zinger just pierced me, and then I managed to let it go out the other side and not stay there. And then I took that energy of the question. I said, so why is that a problem? What issues does this cause for you? And oh my God, the tension in the room went way down. And we ended up having this really good discussion about any issues that she saw on the pages and how the web team would have to manage them. And we generated some solutions, because certainly there were things I hadn't seen. So we generated some solutions that really improved the project, but didn't delay it. And it was really productive. So we all get these zingers at work. Like, we can feel targeted and scrutinized and defensive. And mindfulness helps us respond with less defensiveness, like more of a feeling of seeing the entire situation and thinking about how to manage it. And this is really useful when managing technology change and technology projects, because there's conflict inherent in implementing a new website or a new system, or changing the tools that people use every day. You're changing how people work, and that's hard. But a great boss once said to me, office politics is simply understanding the pressures that different people are under. And I'm like, huh. And I could visualize all these different people around the organization. And that person has a boss who's really keen on certain metrics. And so that person is always driving for those outcomes, regardless of whatever else I think they should be looking at. And that person doing the very best she can, but has a lot of vacancies on her team. And so she just wants it to be quick and clear and told what to do, and so she can get it done. I remember I had to work with our marketing team, our communications and marketing team, to get the branding on a new program that we were developing. And we had all these great ideas for the logo and how it would all work. And they said, no, you have to fit within the branding of our association. It has to have our association's logo on it. I'm like, oh. And we were so passionate about that program, and we had such great ideas. I really wanted to, to push back. So I went and met with him, and I said, so what are you trying to achieve? Like, what are your goals for branding at the association? And he explained how they had this overarching branding goal and guideline and framework to bring all these different programs together, and that having a single logo was part of that. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so can we do anything else though? Can we have some different colors, some different fonts, some different website templates? And absolutely, he did some amazing work to get us the flexibility we needed to make our program unique. And I will credit, like mindfulness, because it brings in this curiosity, it then generates a little bit of empathy. And because we're outside of our own perspectives, our own viewpoints, and looking at the viewpoints of others, we get to win-win situations like that, because we actually had a beautiful program website by the end, because we had the communications and marketing graphics team supporting us, which is much better actually than our logo. So curiosity is a key part of mindfulness, because mindfulness is about having this interest, this open awareness, this open interest in life. Not reacting and saying, I don't like this and I don't want that, but going, that's interesting. I wonder why that's the way it is. And that absolutely ties in to business skills and doing well at work. So this is not a new book either. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits is seek first to understand. So, that inquiring mindset allows us to be effective at work. Another book, a big favorite of mine, is Difficult Conversations by Stone, Patton, and Heen. I love this book because I used to hate a conversation where I was in conflict with someone. And that book taught me how to come and say, rather than me delivering my message and having you react to it, I could come and say, here's how I see this situation. Here's my perspective. And then with curiosity say, what's it look like from your side? Right? So then together, there wasn't just one version of the truth, mine. There were two versions or multiple versions of the truth. And together we built a common agreement on the truth. And then when we'd agreed the problem, it was easier to solve it together. So once we get out of our own thoughts, our own perspectives, and take that open awareness approach, that inquiring mindset, we have some really good skills. So I was approached by one of our users when I was at an association, and they told me that they wanted an appointment scheduler built into the system. And they told me in great detail the fields of data they needed and the way the system would update every time they got an email from the member and how it would set the appointment. And it was so complex. And I knew how much coding that would take. And every fiber of my being was screaming internally, no, 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 we can't do that. And IT is often the king of no, but this was a crazy request. But after she had told me what she wanted, I then asked about the why. And she described a very painful process of trying to schedule appointments based on what her boss was asking her for. And the more we talked about it, the more I understood it was horrible what she was trying to do. It really was, and we had to help her. So we did, in the end, build something to help her, and it worked. We didn't build a whole module, and we didn't build even an extra screen. We added one field for needs appointment and one field for the appointment date and time. And then we did the rest using the queries and the reports and the mail merge thing that we already had in the system. But it worked for her because I didn't just understand what she said she wanted. I understood the problem she was trying to solve. So I use this now to manage reactions. So not that long ago, somebody said to me in a very pointed way and asked me about some work that they thought we should have done. And I couldn't remember if we'd done the work. I couldn't find it on my computer. And the more she asked about it, the more my face got red and I kind of got defeated. And I'm like, oh my God. And what tends to happen to me is that my mind goes blank. It goes white, just blank. Not a thought crosses my frozen mind sometimes when I get under stress. But what I do then is I relax and I let my attention maybe go into my heart and then down into my tummy. And I'm like, oh. And when I do that, then probably something pretty honest comes out like, oh, we didn't do that work. Yeah, I think we need to pay more attention to that. Can I take some time to do it? It's always good to take a little bit of time. So I do want to say, though, that no matter how much space or awareness you have, there are always assholes at work, despite the being a book, The No Asshole Rule by Robert Sutton. And so you will not be able to meditate or mindfulness your way out of every difficult situation at work. Sometimes there's a performance issue. But what we are talking about is if we can create that gap between the thing coming at us and our reaction, if we can create a space, that is an amazing leadership skill. So when the time comes to put in your new AMS or your new website, we come up against the conflict and the roadblocks and the delays and the different silos, we actually have a better chance of a successful project when we coordinate from a perspective of open awareness and looking around and being driven by our reactions. So I wish mindfulness were a panacea for all workplace ills. I wish I remember to do it all the time, but it's a practice. And so we keep trying to do it and we get better each time. And thank you for your time and for letting me speak today. Thanks, Kiki.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Wow. I have so many great book suggestions from Moira that I'm going to have to go and follow up on. What was that last book that she mentioned? That's definitely in my Amazon cart right now. So what did you learn from this past 21 minutes? You're 21 minutes smarter, but how will you apply what you heard here today? Well, there's one thing that we know for sure in association chat land, and that's that we have to keep asking questions to learn every day. Why? Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Go find that treasure, and thank you, Moira. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.